Hello everyone, Jewel here. Lately, I've been playing and searching around strategy and turn-based RPG a lot, which makes me want to give a new recommendation for some new games in that genre. But then I realized I haven't done justice to our fellow consoles players. Because as much as you'll love my previous list, some of the games are just not available on other consoles. And for a start, let's begin with the PS4, shall we? Alright then, let's get started.
Yes.
Aqua Plus returns to demonstrate its talent with the last entry of the series of Utawarerumono. If you're playing this just for the tactical RPG element, you might be a little bit disappointed because combat-wise, it's not that crazy innovative or anything. But you don't play Mask of Truth for the gameplay only. The selling point of this game is actually the story, and as a guy who loves anime, I find the story quite appealing. Although I can see that some people might not be interested. If you're a fan of somewhat visual novels that have elements of the tactical RPG, then this is a perfect game for you.
活躍した。見ていただけましたか?
I don't know.
Atlus may be known most for its Persona and Shin Megami Tensei games, but the company also sometimes put out some cool surprise like 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. This is a release that could best be described as a visual novel, but the genre description doesn't do justice to what 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim manages to achieve. There is a relatively small portion of the overall experience that plays like a tactical RPG game. You play as the various members from the story as they are piloting the Sentinel mechs to fight off enemy forces, and you do this through an interesting system that somewhat mirrors ATB combat from Final Fantasy. This combat acts as a nice change of air for when it feels like the story is becoming too much, although it must be said that the gameplay clearly isn't the main draw of the experience.
Aegis activation.
Are you one of those old days enjoyers of Brigandine? Well, if that's the case, then make sure to play this game on PS4. Just like the original, the game offers a ton of replay value. The characters all have their own backstory, and each faction has its own storyline and reason for joining the battle. Every faction has its own strengths, and there are many ways to approach the battle, making it a totally different experience for each playthrough. However, keep in mind that the game is not necessarily newbie friendly, as the game mechanics are definitely not in the realm of instant gratification. At first glance, Adam might feel like a Russian Fallout, at least gameplay-wise. But its many layers actually contain so much more than just a tribute. Even if it is a smaller project than its elders, this game greatly delivers. Rich story, interesting NPCs, turn-based combat, excellent RPG mechanics, this game has almost everything. If you ever felt nostalgic about the first two of Fallout but already played the game to death, then this game is definitely for you. If you happen to love Norse mythology or epic fantasy stories full of consequence and depth storytelling, then look no further than Banner Saga Trilogy. The battles play out on a grid in a similar fashion to popular titles like Final Fantasy Tactics. There are a total of 25 playable characters and 7 different classes. The soundtrack and audio are magnificent. There are satisfying sounds in battle when swords make contact with enemy armor, and a great sense of atmosphere when entering a village and engaging in conversation. The turn-based strategic battles might not be equally as thrilling to everyone who plays this, and the interface can be a bit clunky at times, but it doesn't detract too much from all the good things. If you like mecha anime, Super Robot Wars 30 provides a strong introduction to one of the longest-running tactical RPG franchises. Super Robot Wars is a turn-based strategy RPG, similar to Final Fantasy Tactics or even Fire Emblem. But what sets this one apart is that they use different mecha anime series and have them mesh with each other. Difficulty-wise, it's somewhat easy for the most part. So if you're already familiar with tactical RPG, I would suggest playing with hard or even expert difficulty. Warhammer 40k Mechanicus is a tactical RPG game developed by Bulwark Studios, which puts players in control of Adeptus Mechanicus forces. For a Unity game, the visuals are very pleasing and faithful to the source material. The character models and visual effects looks great and on point in the context of Unity and Warhammer 40k respectively. The gameplay in Mechanicus is turn-based, involving moving on tiles and sometimes using action points to carry out attacks or use special abilities. Its gameplay is very close to well-known games such as recent XCOM, albeit on a smaller scale and without cover mechanics. All in all, I highly recommend it to any Warhammer 40k fans and turn-based enjoyers out there. Phoenix Point is very much the spiritual successor to the original XCOM series that Julian Gollop set out to make. Originally dropping on Epic Games Store for PC, finally, after 2 years of bug fixing, tweaks and additions, console players can finally experience this tactical RPG. The world building aspect remains fun, and there are almost endless possibilities in every playthrough thanks to the procedurally generated nature and the wildly diverse factions you can interact with. As for the combat, Phoenix Point adds a lot of its own innovative elements that makes battles play out distinctly. For example, you can set your Overwatch area, target specific body parts, and even ascend vertical structures. Battle Brothers is nothing you haven't seen before. It's squad management blended with resource management, blended with hex-based tactical combat. But what stuck to me is the attention to detail that Dave gave when developing this title. Different opponents feel different. It's not just different stats and skins, they act differently and you will have to react accordingly to survive. You will have to manage your squad stat distributions and talent trees effectively, and equip them with versatile gear to handle the diversity of threats. If you like the hardcore experience and enjoy figuring out new strategies, you will definitely have a good time playing this game. Disgaea is an isometric turn-based RPG series that plays somewhat similarly to games like Final Fantasy Tactics. The games are known amongst RPG enthusiasts for their fun, casual style stories and absurd numerological scale in stats. In terms of game mechanics, Disgaea 5 Alliance of Vengeance is possibly the strongest entry in the franchise. Almost every change it makes is for the better, and the core gameplay has been polished and refined in countless ways. The story is cliché, but it could have been worse. If you have watched anime a lot, you will be able to predict the story pretty easily. But at least they did a good job at making the characters grow on you over time as you complete it. If you love Valkyria Chronicles, the original, then you will love this one as well. Valkyria Chronicles 4 uses the same system as the original game did. Battles are fought on maps in turn-based order. Your soldiers make their moves and fire upon the enemy, then the enemy gets to do the same to your people. The streamlined battle system makes things tense without being overly simplistic, and headshotting enemies never gets old. It's also nice that the game kept the old system of having soldiers with depth, backstories, and positive or negative traits, which can evolve as they earn experience or completing objectives. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire is a worthy successor to the first Pillars of Eternity. It's not just improves everything from its predecessor, but also adding some new addition. One of the coolest addition is the turn-based mode. Even though some old-school CRPG enthusiasts might still going to play the game with the standard mechanic, some people like me actually prefer to play it on turn-based, and it works surprisingly well. There are some issues with performance and loading times for consoles, but I didn't find it game-breaking. Although I have to admit that the PC versions is just a far superior version. But if you don't have PC and want to experience it on PS4, I would still recommend it. The Wasteland series have been always tied to Fallout, and while Fallout moved to a shooter RPG, Wasteland stayed true to its roots, maintaining its traditional isometric look and gameplay mechanics. The world of Wasteland 3 is much different than the ones found in Wasteland 2 and the original game, but the dangers and hardships remains the same. All the strategy, combat, and twisted story choices the series is known for are present here, and done better than they ever have been before. While the load times get in the way sometimes, but there is no denying that you need to play this game if you love a tactical RPG, especially original Fallout. XCOM 2 expands on its predecessor in nearly every aspect. Strategy has more depth, the customization is deeper, and the layers of story that you build with your squad is more immersive. The 7 different classes and options to customize your units give the game more tactical depth. Not only that, there's also lots of different enemies and mission types, and even modifiers for missions. So even without mods, the game already has a huge replayability. I know, even I'm sick of saying this, but Divinity Original Sin 2 is just one of the best games that ever made, let alone RPG. I'm not going to explain anything about the game because, I already recommending this game like countless times already, but still I have to do it. The point is, if you really value your life as a gamer, especially RPG enthusiasts, just play this game, please. Alright boys, I think that's it for today. Obviously, there are still other good tactical or strategy RPG games that I haven't mentioned yet, so feel free to share your best tactical RPG games that probably deserve a spot in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss another great list. Thank you for watching and have a good day. Peace.